Well, my hey, I got something to say, peeps. I was going to say, I hope you had a great summer, but I know you had a great summer because you've been telling me about your summer. And I've been telling you there are going to be some changes, great changes to the epic. You ready for this? Joy shift. And you're like, what could possibly be epic? Well, I'm actually going to bring everything together with my speaking engagement workshops and podcasts. And Nadja here. Hello, Nadja. How are you?
Hi, Sandy. How you doing?
Good. Well, she is going to be the first guest ever to start in my new opening. And matter of fact, she did not know about it ahead of time because we did not send the information to her because we're recording ahead of time. But as you asked, you're like, Sandy, you always talk about movement, words, and laughter and getting it done in 1 to 3 minutes a day. And all you need is 1 to 3 minutes to make this amazing shift. So why don't you show us? So this Nadja is going to show me what move she would do seated if she found out the most awesome thing, like mind-blowing thing just happened. What would be your celebration dance? And when you show it, then I'm going to do it with you. What would you do, Nadia?
There will be a lot of clapping. So it's definitely like, it's gonna be like a little seat dance and it's
Okay.
gonna be absolutely uncoordinated and it's just gonna be like, and it's gonna be squeaking and just joy. And it's just like,
Okay. So now that you're doing it, what is one thing that would be mind blowing if you found out, like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened?
oh, whenever one of my clients is celebrating a really amazing success, this is when I'm just like the little cheerleader in the back. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you.
All right. So
That's
I want
like
to
what I
do it
always
with
have.
you. Go. Yay! I
I
can
think
feel
those
your
are my
whole
little
body
pong
shake.
pongs.
I I wish I
Yeah.
had pop. Well, thank you for playing because I'm going to remember. Even just doing that makes me feel better.
Isn't that right? And I just recognized the same. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Now I'm even more happy and joyful to be on the conversation with you. So
Yeah,
thank you. I might steal that. Like,
we're
let's
going to
just
do
be
it. Like,
happy. There you
yeah.
go. It's all about the body and mind connection, right? Just let's be and
Absolutely.
let's just feel. Ah, I'm
And it
so
doesn't
dialed
take
in
much.
now.
Look at all you did is this. Yay! I get being so excited for your clients. All right, now let's just tell them a little bit about why I wanted you to be on the show because I always have awesome, amazing humans on the show making a positive, powerful difference. So, Nadja Fromm is a business coach and a former international marketing executive who helps entrepreneurs escape burnout. Anybody there? And build businesses aligned with their passion and purpose. After 20 years leading brands like Lindt, yes, the chocolate, we just went over that, and Kraft Heinz, she now empowers founders to simplify marketing, refine their message. Of course, she understands what I'm doing. I forgot all about that. And attract the right clients with confidence. Her mission is to help others break free from the 9 to 5 grind and create lives and businesses that truly light them up. Woo-hoo!
Heck yes. That's what it's all
Yeah,
about, right?
that's what it's all about. Coming from New Hampshire, right?
From New Hampshire.
All right, so let's dive into it. We did a little movement and now
Hmm.
the words. And we have a power statement, or what I like to call it, the one positive statement you want to tell women and men that support us around the world.
Absolutely.
You don't need to fit into anyone else's version of success. When you build your life and business in alignment with your values, passion, and purpose, you become unstoppable. All right. Why'd you pick that one? I mean, I love it. I love it.
It's just every word rings so true to my own journey and to the journey that I see clients and friends and everyone going through. It's that we 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 we've been taught through society and through school and all the way just we are taught to behave is to follow rules, is to please, especially as a woman, it's to don't be difficult, follow the rules and make sure that your boss approves and all that. And what I've realized for myself is that I've chased, you mentioned, for over 20 years. I was in very big girl jobs. And I realized that, wait a minute, once I reached that top level, I was still empty and numb and tired. And so I realized that I was chasing someone else's version of success. So my number one statement really is you do you. And build your life and build your business and build your way of living in tune with who you are. And that's what's going to unlock really your true power. Very true for me. And so it's kind of the motto I live after.
You know, I love that you're saying that because there's so many times that I almost was convinced to do something that didn't sit right with me.
Mm.
Then I remember something one of my mentors said, Sandy, I don't know why you picked this number. There's 66,000 ways to be successful and 66,000 ways not to. So go pick yours first 66,000 ways. Don't let anyone convince you. And I was so young, I wasn't real sure what it meant.
Mm.
But even now, I can feel myself not yet like with even my branding, someone's like, you have to just talk about that. You have to talk about that. And my one friend's like, why would you do that? You're such a curious person about everything. That's what makes you, why can't you be on brand and with that and it still bring you joy?
Mm.
And it's so true.
Yeah. I mean, there are a million ways to fail, there are a million ways to win, but there's only one way to be yourself. And I think, I mean, nowadays everything is just all about true connection and authenticity, and nobody wants that a polished version. You know what you see everything on Instagram. Everything is just the absolute perfect little window into someone's life, but life is messy, and isn't it beautiful? And I agree. It's a part of just if you find yourself and if you are able to truly live within that, that's where joy really comes from. And that's ultimately where you're gonna attract your kind of people. And that is what's going to make you successful. But you gotta tap into who you are so you can stand up for what you want to do and what you not want to do. So it's just all about choosing you. First and foremost, choosing you. Yes, you might have a family, you might have, colleagues and friends, but if you don't choose yourself first, then you can't really be there for anyone else, right? It's the famous can't pour from an empty cup. Choose yourself first, and then joy is gonna follow, surely.
So can you tell us a little story about what happened within you that made the shift to want to leave the corporate world?
Mm.
And all
I'm not
that
gonna
great
lie.
chocolate, I don't know, and ketchup, I don't know.
No, I mean there's pros and cons. And I mean I worked in advertising agencies and I worked in corporate and I worked in startups. And at some point I realized, as we just said earlier, there was just something about chasing what I thought is the desirable end state, being that CEO, being that, being at the head of the board meeting table. But for me, it was quite honestly a very, very significant burnout. I had three burnouts in my 20 plus year career, but the last one really, really gave me probably that breakdown that I needed to get and find my breakthrough. So it was not just a physical crumbling, it was mentally just numbness and sadness and everything just felt like it just doesn't make any sense. And I had to stop completely. And for the first time in a long time, because my body and my mind and my soul was forcing me to, for the first time, I stopped listening to everything around me.
Hmm.
And I stopped listening to or responding or reacting just to things that are just coming from the outside in. But I had to sit with myself in silence. And that is where I realized what I truly want. And that I do want to put myself first because I only have one life. And why would I not live my life? Why would I live anyone else's version of it? And so that was the big wake up call for me. to see that I was working, I was pouring my heart and my soul and everything into my career. And so many people feel seen with that because that's what most of us do. You pour yourself in your career, and then what? That you might be passed over for the promotion, you might be laid off at that, that big port. Like, there's just no loyalty back. We give so much loyalty to our companies, but somehow there's not really any loyalty that comes back. And in the end of the day, it's sad but true. We are very replaceable in the workforce. And that was something that really bothered me to see that as long as I was performing, celebrated, great, the big paycheck. But the
Yeah.
moment I broke and I crumbled, it was very quickly to become just a liability in the in the financial statement. So that was my big moment of, you know what, none of this is what I really wanted. And so I focused on what is that that lights me up. And it was always building something, and I was helping something, and it was helping people see how easeful it can be when you're aligned with what you love. And it's not the signs that everybody has, like find something. If you love what you do, you don't work any day of your life. Like, that's BS, you know that. Like, it's still going to be hard, right? Life is hard, but play it after your own rules, right? So if you align with what you really want to do, you just shine and you radiate it, and you can show it with so much clarity and confidence. And so this is what I now made my profession, to bring all of that, to combine the mindset of success, of clarity, of confidence, and combine that with marketing that clicks. And that happens to be just my absolute passion project. And I am blessed to be able to call it my job.
I love that. I love the fact that you gave me that feeling that so many people I hear say over and over again, that they lived in this world where they dedicated their life to this company. But one thing, and they didn't care about them. That was it. They were done. It's so hard. I see it over and over again. And people that just like blood, sweat, and tears. And then they realize, wait a minute, what am I doing this for? So
Yeah.
let's back up a second. For the women out there who are saying, okay, great, let's put myself first. We need to give them steps. Like, what could they do today to make that happen? Because we got so many questions, Nadia, over and over again about that. Meaning, okay, Sandy, that sounds all well and good, but when you have 3 kids and work full time and have parents that you need to help, where is it, how is it that I can put myself first?
Well, we need to put ourselves first on a daily basis, especially when in that specific example. When I think about that, having to care for, you know, that's a typical sandwich generation that you talk about, the sandwich caretaker. You take care of your parents and your children
Yeah.
and
And your dogs.
your dogs, right? Like one of them here in the background, sleeping. So I think the biggest part would be to take inventory of how do you spend your day. And we gotta be really brutally honest here. I'm talking social media, Netflix. And I know those are moments to just turn off your brain because everything is just highly demanding and stressful, and it pulls you in all the different directions. But look and take inventory about what is that you fill the quiet moments with. And if you start just reserving 5 minutes after you wake up journaling, or once the kids are in bed, get on the ground and just do some stretching and breath work. It is as simple as that. That is how you can start showing yourself, your mind, your soul, your body, that you are taking care of her. And I think that is something that I would recommend. If that is your situation,
Yeah.
Instead of Instagram doom scrolling, so until you fall asleep, do some breath work, do some short meditation, right? You can look up on Spotify, you can go and look up for Yoga Nidra, Nidra, Yoga Nidra. There are 5-minute exercises out there that do a very quick body scan, they do quick breath work. And why is that important? Our brain is fundamentally structured for two things: speed and efficiency. And so the different parts of the brain, the oldest part is the lizard brain that is closest to the brainstem. And that part of the brain is the oldest, right? So it is really, that's what is responsible for the fight, flight, freeze response right here. So the moment something is scary or confusing or angry, whatever it is, that's the quickest way of your brain to react to it. Now, when you're in a fight, flight, freeze response for a long time, and that's what many of us are, that is what burnout comes from. This is where depression comes from. This block of you just sit in this fight or fleece response for years at some point even. Then the other part of your brain, so for example, the prefrontal corpse lobes, so it's really hard. Some of the German vocabularies are coming back because I'm not a native speaker English, but you know what I mean.
It's
So the
way better than
newest,
I would say it to go for.
so the newest part of the brain, which sits right in the front of your head. So right behind our forehead, that is the part that is the newest part. That is the part that is responsible for rationale, for reason. Now that is the newest part, so it has also the longest way to your brainstem. So doing exercises like mindfulness, and it's such a buzzword, but mindfulness does nothing else but to actively help you to dial back into your control center, to the dashboard that's actually going to be like, hold on. So am I actually chased by a bear here? Or is this just my boss having his typical crises because he's afraid of the board meeting upcoming? So these little journaling, breath work, meditation, dropping into your body and just feeling it, that helps your brain part that is responsible for rational reason to feel a little bit more in control. So over time, you're strengthening that connection so that you can start processing what is actually a real threat and what is going to be manageable. And that's very, very simple way of starting with 5 minutes. Set a timer, make it a non-negotiable, and you can do that while the coffee is cooking, while, the kids are just right now, kids brushing their teeth. Could that be a window that you reserve for yourself? Start that. That's why I want you to choose yourself.
Okay, so I just want to repeat it so I get it. It would be lovely if you had an hour to take for yourself, and that's great. Or you could go to a spa, or you could hang out with your friends. And I'm sure those days will happen. But if you are, like you said, sandwiched and you're in the thick of it and you're working, you got parents, you got kids, even that 5 minutes will make a huge difference. And it is putting yourself first. It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. That's what it is. And I'm going to go as fast as I need to say that an hour a day, that's unrealistic. If you have kids or not, that's unrealistic. Especially when we're thinking about the choosing yourself is truly sitting with yourself, not meeting friends, not Netflix and chill,
Oh, okay.
not going to the gym.
Okay.
It's you want to feel your body. You want to help your brain connections to establish and to understand that this is not a live or death moment here. It's
Okay.
all about that. And that is why 5 minutes a day is a good starting point.
All right. So let's clear it up then. This is not about anything else but being with yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
Because
much?
when you show up with your friends, you know what happens.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story and you're going to be there. And as most of us, especially females, like we care for each other so much that you taking on the negative or positive energy from your surrounding humans. But the moments that you really want to truly choose yourself is when you're alone and quiet and solitude and peace. Mhm.
What about if you hike in the woods or take a walk with your dog? Would that still be considered spending time with yourself?
Absolutely. Nature for sure. Now it depends. If they're crazy like my dogs and all you gotta do is actually like pay attention, you're in training mode, you are always on this radar scanning if other people coming on this one dog in house number 17 that always learn like that might not be the right. But if it's
Okay.
walking in the woods, if it's just sitting there, honestly, look out of the window and just see how the leaves in the tree are moving in the wind. Do that for 5 minutes. That's
So
alone beautiful. Connecting with nature, 100%.
I got it. So if the dog is taking your attention, doesn't count. If you're riding a bike and you're bobbing with cars, doesn't count. So then spending time with yourself, putting yourself first, even just looking out the window for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
How is that putting yourself first? Why is that putting yourself first?
Because we want to start detaching ourselves from external influencing stimuli. So could
Got it.
be that neighbor's dog, could be the cars that you're dealing with when you drive it by. So all of that are external factors that keep your mind on this chatter, this like ongoing, just
Yep.
that ongoing noise, because part of the autopilot, a lot of what we do is just working and just running on autopilot, but this like ongoing chatter, that's what we don't want. And so once you put all that away, you start listening to your own thoughts. Like, wait a minute. Oh, and so journaling, I think, is one of the best. And I know everybody's preaching about journaling, but I'm a big advocate of it because it helps you to surface what is usually suppressed from the noise.
Ooh, I like that. I like the way you said that. Yeah. And everybody talks about it, but not everybody's doing it.
Mm, I know.
It's good in theory. And then
It's
I have
good
to
in
go
theory.
and start it, and then they're like, yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How long do you journal every day, Nadia?
It depends. It depends when I'm noodling on something specific. I tend to set myself 90-second timers and do specific prompts. So, for example, uh, I'm fully booked with clients right now, but I really want to continue to serve more people. How do I feel about that? Right? Or my dog's neighbor or my neighbor just complained about this one thing about my dog's barking. How does that make me feel? So usually I would set like a 90-second timer and just write it all out. But at night, oftentimes it's like a 10-15 minute window. That is my peace and quiet. And I go through my routine. The dogs are in bed. I turn the lights off. I put the covers back. I have my face washed. And that's when then the 10 minute, 15 minutes, and I just see what happens. Part about it is to not force it. But if you want to build a new habit, you're gonna do it for a certain number of, days and time. So which is why this little reminder, this little alarm on your phone could be a good way. You don't have to write it in a piece of paper or in a nice booklet, which I personally love. Get yourself like a really beautiful journey and that pen that just glides over the pages and it just feels so
True.
beautiful. That's something that's very, you want to involve so many of your senses. So that's like something you really look forward to. Maybe that's when you have your favorite cup of tea at night, right? Create this really beautiful moment that is just for you. And if it's just 5 minutes, that's okay. And you'll see over time how much you're going to start craving for it and how much it's going to become part of your routine. And then over time, you can expand it maybe at some point. So you'll see as it is going to the gym, as it is, eating your vegetables, over time, you're going to start being so in tune with that it becomes second nature.
I'm a big journal, but I didn't realize the difference it made when somebody gave me a really nice journal. Like I have journals and I'll write in anything, right? And then like I had all these little fun, like great, amazing journals and pens, and people kept giving them to me as gifts. And I'm like, wait a minute. I really love writing this more. Like I can't wait to feel the paper. So now I'm addicted to all different types of journals because they make me so happy
Mm,
And you're right, even the freaking pen. I never even thought about it. It makes a difference. So I
totally.
want to hold right there because I I really love the way that you talked about journaling, and I want people to get this. So I applaud the 5 minutes with yourself, and I applaud the journaling. But you said something that I've never heard before, and I love that you did this. And I want to make sure because this is something they could put in action right away. I forget the word you said, but you said when I'm what was the word for 90 seconds before it? When you're diddling or when you're chewing on
Oh,
something?
but I'm noodling on it.
Noodling. It was noodling. All right.
Don't
Okay.
ask me where I got it from, because
All
again,
right. I
second
love that.
language. I
I
got
love
it
it.
somewhere and now I'm using it all the time, and people are always smiling a little bit when I say it because you know what I'm talking about.
You know what you're talking about. So when I journal, I call it brain drain or scribble scrabble. And those are my
Yeah.
I like this. So let's stay with this. The 90 seconds. Is there any reason 90 seconds or that's just what you do?
That's just what I do. I think back in time, my coach back then, she taught me that. And I think it's because 90 seconds is enough, but not too long that you start thinking and overthinking. I think that's going to be the biggest part about journaling. As you said, like brain,
Brain
I would
drain.
call it like a brain drain or, brain dumping. Or I think that the methodology behind that is actually creative writing. And creative writing is you put the pen on paper and you do not think about anything. You write everything that is coming to your mind. And even if it is in the beginning, and I have clients that have been a little bit resistant in the beginning, they're like, oh, I want business coaching. I don't want to journal. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Because marketing and mindset, it's a thing. So you write down. Now I'm sitting here and I don't know what to write. And this coach told me to write. And I just heard this on
And
the
her.
radio.
Yeah.
And at some point, that's again, you get rid of the clutter, write it all out. And then after a couple of minutes, you're going to be, wow, that's when you start surfacing these things that haven't been able to process. So you bring them to the surface and you allow your brain to very actively and in a very awake way to process it. That's why we want to sit in silence. And this is why we want to shield ourselves for a very limited amount of time every day from all the other things. Don't put music on unless it's like something without vocals. Don't put on the radio. Don't put anything on. This is you.
Okay. So that's one type of journaling. But when you were mentioning the 90-second,
Yep.
the neighbor complained about the dog,
Yep.
and you're just going to write for 90 seconds. Why? Why just 90 seconds about that situation?
It's long enough to get to some substance and it's short enough to not start overthinking. The brain is really tricky and she's really, really, special to make us avoid things that are uncomfortable. And when it's too long, you might start second guessing and thinking too much. But if it's just 90 seconds, that goes pretty fast. And so you want
I
to kind
like
of
it. Love
go
it.
very spontaneously of which is why the prompt is very specific. Here's a specific statement, idea,
Yep.
situation that just happened. And you ask yourself, how do I think about that? Or what do I feel about that? And because it's like quick, 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 timer, timer, I think there's something about that you have to like just act right away without overthinking it. That's what I'm gonna go with. I think this is why the 90 seconds work so well.
Well, that's something they can immediately do. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they have like a crap load of things like, hey, I want to meet the guy next door. How do I start a conversation? All right, 9 seconds. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, if we just unlearn, if we could just unlearn all the rules and regulations and all the you're supposed to do this and questioning and second guessing everything that we do, if you could just drop back into your body and your instinct and listen to your gut, I think we would have way less problems in the world.
I agree with you, Nadia. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. I know we're not going to get to everything, but I wanted to home in on these stuff because these are things I haven't really talked about recently on the podcast. And I know there's simple little things that people in this
Mm.
crazy busy life can apply. And it's not like, oh, okay, you need 45 minutes
Mhm.
to an hour, which is great, but you don't. It can make a huge difference. I'm definitely going to, I journal a lot, but I'm going to try your 90-second thing. I got a lot of
Yeah.
topics to put in there. I'll let you know how it works out.
I can't wait to hear it.
I can. I just can't wait to try it. All right. So this is a sticky wicket for me. Pause before you say yes. I want you to know I actually had post-it notes everywhere, all over saying, say no, say no, say no, say no, say no. You can say no, the opposite of just say yes. I had to say, you're allowed to say no, you're allowed to say no, you're allowed to say no, because I went through this period that if somebody asked me to do something and I physically could do it, I would say yes. And I realized, what the heck? Why am I doing that? There's some of those things, they don't even light me up. And if I paused a minute, whoa, it
Mm.
was like, I know it sounds crazy or like Sadie, of course it did. But just looking at that sticky note, I'm allowed to say no. I'm like, I am?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
freeing. And you say redefine, like right through fine. Pause before you say yes. Check if an opportunity or request truly feels aligned, not just impressive on paper.
Hmm. It's very related to no is a full sentence. It's
Yeah.
very related to let's just don't say, let's not be yes ma'ams. Because that's just, again, it's part of what we've been trained to do, especially as a woman, that we just, don't be difficult, just sit there, be pretty, do your things. We're wired to serve. We're wired to care. And sometimes that extends into our work environment when someone, the colleague or your boss says, "Hey, could you do this?" And we feel this is almost a reward, like, "Oh, wow, they ask me." Heck no. Just because you can, it doesn't mean that you should do it. So next time, it's again, it's the same reflection of, do I just want to do it because I think it could be something that someone would might be impressed by? Or is it just something that people are just you're just supposed to do? Or do I feel there's some kind of extrinsic motivation that brings me to it? Think really about whatever that is and think about, do you feel pulled to it, or is it like a push of, okay, I gotta do it, gotta do it. Sure thing. I mean, there's enough in life that we have to do it. Pay the bills, feed the kids, get up in the morning. That's what it is. But when it comes down to opportunities, when it comes down to, just requests from other people, just pause for a second. Say, all right, I'm inclined to say yes, but why? Do I really want this, or do I think people want me to want this?
So important. So true. So true. Yeah. If I'm at a dinner party, it's gonna look really great. Like, oh, you did that? You got that? And I'm like, but wait a minute. I don't even really want that. So true.
Hmm.
All right. I want to make sure I get this one because I got a lot of questions about this, and we know to be doing this, but treating setbacks as data 100 times is not failure, but they want to know how. And I know you say instead of labeling them failures, use them as feedback to adjust courses and grow stronger. But I got so many questions about that because a lot of women, and I'm going to say most of them were like 40 above, were saying it doesn't compute. It just doesn't compute.
Hmm.
They don't know how to reset their brain to not see that it is like that was a big flop. I don't know if you have any
Absolutely.
guidance for them.
I I'm so glad that you bring that point up because that's definitely one of my favorite things to just give like a little bit of a positive irritation. Like, wait, what? Right? Irritation is good because that makes you stop and think. So, which is why, like, that's one of the things. Let's go back to how the brain is working. How the brain works, it wants to be on autopilot 95% of the time. because it's a heavy engine. It takes a lot of juice. So ideally, it wants to be fast and efficient. It wants to be on autopilot. In order to do that, it creates this rule book. It creates a playbook. It creates a playbook based on your reality and your version of the truth and your world. Now, when you rely very heavily on that playbook, which is the neural pathways that you've traveled for a long time, then you prove to yourself it's almost like a built-in confirmation bias. So let me give you an example. When you say yourself, what could be a good example? So if you would say yourself, oh, there was this event I just went through and I just feel like I didn't make any good connection. So, or there's this client that I wanted to bring on and in the end, they didn't sign on, right? So those are situations where in the past it would be like, you know, of course I didn't because I didn't work hard enough for it. And we start to beat ourselves up, right? It would be like, oh, they didn't choose me. I wasn't good enough. I didn't pitch them hard enough. Or, I didn't work the room enough on the networking event. So, but if your brain says, okay, this is what has always worked for me, even if it's not positive. But beating myself up about something to try harder, to work more, to put in the grind, to hustle harder, that has been successful because we are hard on ourselves and we have been successful for that. Especially 40 and up right here. That is just how we've been successful. Listen, 20 plus years of corporate advertising, marketing, that left deep, deep scarring. And all I was able to understand and all I was able to see is that if you work harder, you grow faster. You work
Yeah.
hard and you get successful. Even though that was very, very painful for my body, and even though that was like hurtful to me, but that was the reality that I was seeing. And that was the confirmation bias that the harder you struggle, the more pain you have, the more success you have. But if you flip it around and if you say, oh, how interesting. And this information is just, oh, this client didn't sign with me. Interesting. That's a data point, isn't it? Your thoughts and your feelings are nothing else but data points. They're not the truth. They're like advisors. You don't have to take their advice, right? They're
Right.
just all in your brain. Everyone is like, boo, that was awful. Like, we know, like, you didn't work hard enough and you should have done that. But if you completely get rid of all of that and all the old habits and all the old ways, and you say to yourself, oh, how interesting, this client didn't sign. You detach that negative feeling from it first. And secondly, you can truly dive into, all right, why did it not work? What did I learn from this? What did I learn from this? How can I understand that when this door closes, that yes, there is another door opening, but it is every no leads you to another yes. That's just how what the universe is. That's just how it works. Whatever belief system you subscribe to, but that is what it works. The universe is ultimately looking for balance. And so if there's one thing that says no, there is another thing that says yes. So that is something that I really want to encourage you to not just immediately stop being like, yay, failure. We know all that. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's that little moment of hesitation. The next time something happens that doesn't go your way, I want you to just pause for a second. It's like, oh, how interesting. What do I learn from that? Wow, what's in there for me now? Okay. So that neighbor just put in this complaint. How interesting. Where that coming from? Might there be anything true to it? Might there be anything that I could do differently next time? That is what I want you to do because because it forces you out of the autopilot and it enables you to truly sit with it and say, huh, interesting. What does it teach me? What does it do? What do I do now? So the moment of, instead of responding out of autopilot, like, ugh, see, because I didn't pull in the night shift last time, therefore it didn't work. But instead, wow, okay, interesting. What is that? So just start with, huh, how interesting. You see my hand movement. It's this, I take it out. I said like, oh, interesting. Now, isn't that something? put the little research, put the little lab coat on, you put the glass on, like, oh, how interesting. What can we learn from this? That is what I want you to do. And that is the invitation to get out of just responding and reacting, but truly reflecting first.
And
Long
all
way.
this is doable. It's not time consuming.
No.
It's refraining how you think about it. Nadja, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you for playing along at the beginning and doing the movement. I really appreciate it. But before we go, is there anything we didn't get in that you want to tell women and men around the world?
What do I want to tell people? Okay, if there's one thing you take away from this conversation is that when you choose yourself and when you listen to yourself, if it's positive feelings or negative feelings, there's information in that. Sit with it and reflect on it. Your body knows first.
I like
So
that.
that is probably, yeah, that's how I would wrap it up with a bow.
I
Listen to
like
your
that.
gut.
I love it. I love it. Your body knows first. All right. How can they find you? They're going to want to work with you. Where do they look you up?
You can find me on LinkedIn. My name spelling is very unique. So Nadja Fromm with a D and the J in Nadja. Uh, Hit me up on LinkedIn. I post a lot of stuff and helpful, brain drains on LinkedIn. But hit me up there. I have a bunch of free resources, or you just go on from-consulting.com. That's my website. So either way, reach out to me. As you probably picked up on it, I love talking. And I love to hear your story. And I hope that resonated with you.
Oh my goodness. Well, I got something to say. People, thank you, thank you, thank you for supporting us. I really appreciate it. I would love for you to share this. I know you know at least one person that could benefit from Nadja's message. So share, rate, subscribe, and don't forget, I want to see your movement. You know what? They could even send, we're going to hold that off. I'm going to have people sending in all these movements. Let's just holler. It's just your celebration movement. I mean, think about the football players at the end of the game, right? I
Yeah.
love those little dances. Maybe I'll have to have somewhere we can stand up. But for now, you know what I'm going to say. Thank you, Nadja, and toodles.
Thanks, Sandy.